Welcome. This is the operational video for the CA6 expanded PLC control. As you can see, this is a larger control with 8 outputs, and we use this for custom applications and also for when you have a no load alarm. You can see here it's on the I/O screen, and wherever you are in the program you can always hit escape and it will finally come back to the screen no matter what you're doing. And the row across the top are your inputs. Typically the only input that we use is number 1, and that will be highlighted when the material switch is calling. So when you're troubleshooting, you can know if you're actually getting a signal from the switch. Likewise, on the bottom are your outputs. 1 through 5 we normally use. 1 is material 1, 2 is material 2, 3 is filter clean, 4 is blend, and 5 is the output for the alarm on the no load. You'll also notice that this controller is in the stop mode. That means that you can change parameters on the program, but it is not running. The loader will not try to run. Sometimes after we ship units, they're in the stop mode when you first get them, and you will need to put them in the run mode before they'll operate. And I will show you how to do that later on in this demonstration. So now let's go into the software and see what we can do with this control. It's by far one of the most sophisticated. It's virtually the only PLC control for compressed air loaders. So we're going to hit select. The first screen that comes up is load material 1 and load material 2. And this is set in tenths of a second. So when you look at 21 and 20, that's really 2.1 seconds and 2 seconds. Many people with small machines try to load each time their machine cycles. They get incredibly good blending and consistent operation that way. They've seen a lot of processing advantages to that. So we changed this because there is a big difference between loading virgin material from 1 second to 2 seconds. 2 seconds gives you more than they want. 1 second wasn't giving them enough. So now they can set it anywhere between 1 and 2 seconds in tenths. If we want to change that, we could just go to material 2 whenever we want to change anything. Once we're on a menu here, we're going to hit select. That's going to bring up the cursor. We'll move the cursor down, move it over to the digit that we want to change. We will hit select again, and then the up key to change it. Once we have what we want, we will select OK. And if we don't want to change anything else on that page, we will select escape. So that's how we make changes to different variables. And this is the load time for material 1 and material 2. This is the only screen that operators should normally use at all. Everything from here on is a much more sophisticated application. It's typically not used by operators. Okay, now we go to the blend time and the filter time. The blend time is how long we pulse for blending in the sight glass after we load the 2 materials. 15 would be 1.5 seconds. It's typical to set this between 1 and 2 seconds. Filter time, that's how long we're going to clean the filter. 51 is 5.4 seconds. Typically you're going to clean the filter between 4 and 6 seconds. The next parameter is pulse on and pulse off. So when we're cleaning the filter, the on time is going to be 0.6 seconds, and then it will be off for 0.9. So basically, if you set it for 5 seconds, it's going to run 4 pulses. And that's a really good setting. I don't think you should need to change that. Now we have the no load delay. This new software used to have a delay before we'd even look at a no load alarm. Now what it does is once you start up the control, it waits till you've loaded 3 times successfully, and then that will activate the no load alarm. And so after that, if you go more than 10 seconds without material, when you're looking for material, it will give you an alarm. And typically you get material within 1 second from the Venturi coming on, so 10 seconds is actually a pretty long time. It's important to keep that relatively short, particularly if you're running shot to shot on the machine, if you want somebody to have time to correct the situation. Also, we have no load stop, and this actually cuts off the compressed air after the no load alarm has been on for a period of time. This is one of the few settings that is done in seconds. So this no load is 10 seconds, and the no load stop is set at 30 seconds. So 30 seconds after this loader goes into alarm, the compressed air will start running, and that's important if you're running, overnight without any personnel, so that it doesn't run all the compressor out of your system and have other loaders and machines fail because they don't have any compressed air. So it's important that we pay attention to the no load alarm. Obviously, machines don't work very well if they're not getting material. Next we have static tap on and static tap off. It's set at 0, so in effect you don't have any static tap at all. This is set in tenths of a second. So if you wanted a static tap, let's say of 1.2 seconds, you would just put 12. And if you wanted it to run every 30 seconds, you could leave it where it's at 300, which is 30 seconds. So then every 30 seconds you would get a pulse of the blend. This is used to prevent any bridging, caused by static or particle configuration jamming up in the throat. It fluidizes the material in the sight glass. Some customers use this for additional blending. It works extremely well, and it's really solves a lot of problems. Filter skip here is set at 2. Remember, we're loading for a short period of time every time we load, so there's no reason to clean a filter. We can save compressed air. We can make the system run more efficiently so that we don't lose that time for loading. You can set this as high as 6 to 10. So what you have here is it loads every second time. So it's going to skip every other load before it cleans the filter, and you can really extend that out quite a bit further until the filter doesn't clean. You don't want to go that far, but I'm sure that if you did it every 5 loads, you would still clean your filter in 99.9% of the applications if you have the bag filter, because that will run virtually any material. Next we have the screen delay here, and that's a feature to make the system the control user friendly for operators that don't study this video. You just turn the control on and off, and the screen with material 1 and 2 will come up, in this case for 5 seconds. We like to set that out at about 2 minutes, so that gives the operator plenty of time to change the load time for material 1 and 2, and it also dissuades button pushers who want to play with other things. They really can't get to other parts of the control during that time, and if they really want to push buttons, hopefully they'll go to some other control to push buttons. And anybody who really needs to get to the deeper features here won't have any problem waiting 2 minutes. One other point is you can set a password on this control. I really don't recommend it, as if you forget it, you cannot change anything, and you would have to have a computer to reprogram the control. We cannot just send you a chip. So that's the basic control. Also, here's the buffer. This is how long after it gets a signal from the switch, material switch, before it actually loads. And this allows you to put a buffer on there, so if you're blending and fluidizing in the sight glass, you don't artificially start a cycle when you really have material. So it's just going to give you a little delay on the switch to make sure that you really need material. And you can set that 0.4 is what we send it out at the factory, but you could actually bump that up to a second or 2 if you're running a lot of static tap, that type of thing. It really won't hurt anything. Of course, you got our number, and then this is the software identifier here. So I'm going to hit escape, and that's going to take us right back to this I/O screen, and I want to go ahead and start this controller. So I'm going to hit escape again, and I'm going to go down to run, and I'm going to say OK, and then it says, do I really want to run? And I'm going to say yes. Now at this point it's in the run mode, but it's asking me if I want to stop again, but of course I don't, because I just told it I wanted to run. So I'm going to hit escape, and when I do that, you can see now it is in the run mode, so you can actually load material. And if we come up here and start the control, it will immediately start. That's your material switch activated, and you can see it's loading material 1, material 2, and soon there's your blend. It did not do the filter pulse that time, and it's going to come back here. Hopefully it's going to do the filter pulse after the blend. After 2, it skips 2, and eventually the no load alarm will come on as well. And there's your filter cleaning. And that's how she works. If you have any question, please give us a call and we'll be happy to help you. Have a great day and thank you for watching our video.